Hi everybody, this is Jake from the StewartBackbeatAcademy, and today I'm going to give a lesson for beginning students to set up your drum set in a way to establish good habits. And if you're an intermediate or an advanced player, hopefully this video will help you break through some plateaus in your playing that may be hidden in the way that you're setting up your drums that you might not even know is there. To get started, I always like to set up my drums from the ground up. So I start with the pedals and the throne. So if we take a look here, I'm sitting up high. My leg is not quite at a 90-degree angle. It's opened up a little more. And so the contrast of that would be, which I find to be very common, is sitting way down low here. And this is made popular by a lot of drummers like Travis Barker. It's you kind of get an ape hanger kind of look where you're sitting down low and your cymbals are up high. When you do this, it makes it more difficult to move around the kit gracefully. When I sit down low, this forces me to lean back and use almost my upper body weight to lift my entire leg up in order to play the pedals. So this is going to do two things. It's going to slow me down so I can't play as fast. It's also going to take away from my ability to play dynamically. So what you want to do is sit up higher. Think of yourself as being suspended from the throne and having your legs float freely. If you're experiencing some pain in your hip flexors, it's most likely because you're sitting too low and having to work too hard to lift your entire leg up to play your pedals. So the next thing that I want to talk about, the kick, hat, and snare are the core of your drum set. It's where you spend 90% of your time playing. So it's very important to get that set up correctly so that you can make the best use of your kit. In my own playing and in seeing other drummers play, I've noticed that a lot of times when your snare is set up too low, your leg gets in the way of your left hand. So it's important to have your snare up above your left hand so that it doesn't get in the way of that left hand. Look at the hi-hat now. We have our pedals and our kick set up comfortably, the snare right in front of us, up above our left leg, and the hi-hat, I like to have it set up so that it's not too high above the snare drum for when you're playing more intricate patterns that require your left hand and switching back and forth between the hi-hat and the snare. I don't want to travel a super far distance, and I also don't want to have my hi-hat too high. My stick actually gets caught underneath when I'm trying to switch back and forth between my snare and my hi-hat. So now that you've got your kick, your snare, and your hat set up, that's the core. Now I set up my toms based on my hi-hat. And I like to think in terms of having 3 tiers. So my snare and my floor tom are roughly at the same height. I like my floor tom a little bit lower so that I clear the rim. And I like my snare a little higher so I have access to the rim. And then when I set up my toms, I like to have them on pretty much an even plane. You can see from the front here, my hi-hat and my 2 toms are on this tier here, and I also like to have my ride on this same level. So that gets us to the cymbals. So I like to have 1 tier with the snare and the floor tom, 1 tier with the toms, hi-hat, and ride, and then I like to have my crashes on a 3rd tier. And what this enables me to do is move around the kit and play crashes without having to reach way up high to go from the snare, the toms, to the cymbals. It's important to have your cymbals high enough that they clear your toms, but not so high that you have to reach up to hit them. So that's it on how to set up your drum set. I hope you enjoyed, and please check out my other videos. Thanks for watching.